Our magazine, afternoons at 3 on TV8.
Yeah, my wife is inside. You're around.
The fire took 96 lives. Now at least 2 men face 96 counts of murder.
The U.S. and the Soviets prepare to talk arms in Geneva. New technology puts the brakes on skids.
The fellows here say you go over the first wave, through the second wave, and under the third wave.
And Walter Cronkite in Australia with the America's Cup. This is the CBS Morning News. Good morning. I'm Forrest Sawyer.
And I'm Faith Daniels. It's Wednesday, January 14th.
A second suspect is under arrest this morning for the hotel fire in Puerto Rico, one of the deadliest in U.S. history. He is said to be an accomplice of the man charged yesterday with setting the blaze. Both men are hotel workers, both involved in a bitter labor dispute. And as Peter Van Sant reports from San Juan, there may be more arrests to come.
Authorities in San Juan this morning will continue their search for at least 2 more suspects, people who may have known of Hector Escudero Aponte's plans to start a fire at the DuPont Plaza Hotel.
We would expect there would be more arrests, yes.
Escudero Aponte has been charged with the murder of 96 hotel guests and employees after he allegedly signed a sworn statement saying that he deliberately set the deadly fire. Rose Delisante lost her son in the blaze and wishes the worst for Escudero Aponte.
I wish, if he's the cause of this, they could put him in a room and let him suffer and burn the way these poor people burned behind this door.
Investigators say Escudero Aponte admitted starting the fire by lighting a can of sterno fuel on top of a stack of furniture boxes in the hotel's ballroom. Escudero Aponte, a member of the Teamsters Union, which was involved in bitter negotiations with the hotel, told lawmen he only meant to harass the hotel, not to burn it down. Today, he faces spending the rest of his life in prison.
Up to now, his situation as to bail is no bail.
Escudero Aponte is in protective custody. Officials say there have already been numerous threats on his life. Peter Van Sant, CBS News, San Juan.
FBI Director William Webster is one of those in line to replace William Casey as head of the CIA. Sources say Webster is among a handful of people sounded out for the job. But President Reagan has halted the search, hoping Casey will recover from brain surgery to take command again. Aides say Casey is alert and wants to come back. An investigation is underway into a damaging breach of security at the U.S. embassies in Moscow and in Vienna. A Marine who stood guard at those embassies, Sergeant Clayton Lonetree, is accused of allowing Soviet spies to steal secret documents. Lonetree had keys to the embassy safes. He is said to have fallen in love with a female KGB agent.
Arms control talks between the superpowers resume tomorrow in Geneva, and there'll be a new face on the Soviet side of the bargaining table. David Handelman has a preview of the upcoming session.
America's top arms control negotiators arrived in Brussels this morning to brief the NATO allies the day before the opening of the latest round in the Geneva missile talks. Overshadowing this round, a new and still unexplored factor, the preoccupation of the Reagan administration with the crisis over the sale of weapons to Iran. Before leaving for Brussels yesterday, U.S. Ambassador Max Kampelman warned the Russians not to seek an advantage from any apparent weakness of the administration.
That would produce a miscalculation which would have most unfortunate consequences in these negotiations.
The Soviet delegates began arriving last night in Geneva, faced with a challenge from Kampelman, who said that in terms of the talks, it's up to them now to respond to the latest American proposals for missile cutbacks. This morning, the Kremlin's new high-powered arms negotiator, First Deputy Foreign Minister Yuri Vorontsov, arrived in Geneva to head the Soviet delegation. And senior foreign ministry officials warned that the Soviet position on space weapons still has not changed. No space defense systems at all. Still, they left open one small crack for compromise, that basic research conducted in space-based laboratories might be acceptable. Senior American officials believe that the Soviets realized their hardline strategy in Reykjavik backfired, and faced with Washington pressing ahead with Star Wars research, they need an arms control agreement fast to slow the U.S. down. David Handelman, CBS News, Geneva.
The Senate Foreign Relations Committee this morning opens its examination of the Iran affair. The panel is checking on damage to U.S. anti-terrorism efforts and relations with allies. And the Tower Commission continues its probe into the National Security Council at the center of the scandal. The commission wants to interview President Reagan and 3 other men familiar with running a White House. former presidents Carter, Ford, and Nixon.
The new Democratic Senate is set to hand President Reagan his first major defeat today. It is expected to approve a Clean Water Act identical to the one the president vetoed last year. From Capitol Hill, Ike Pappas reports the vote comes at an especially embarrassing time for the president.
Provides $18 billion over the next 9 years to build waste treatment plants in at least 100 cities.
It transcends partisanship, and the Senate will vote on that bill in that spirit. And I have every hope that the president will receive it in that spirit.
But the president, calling the measure too expensive, wants it cut back to $12 billion. The White House issued this statement last week. Congress can't have it both ways. It can't say it's overly concerned with deficits and pass budget-busting bills. The alternative plan was drawn up for the White House by the EPA.
We think, given the budget considerations, the size of the deficit, the fact that this is the second largest public works program in the country, that's just far too much money to vote to something that everybody agrees ought to be the responsibility of the state and local governments.
Senate Minority Leader Bob Dole will introduce the president's plan on the Senate floor today, but it is not expected to get very far. The House overwhelmingly passed the Clean Water bill last week, and the Senate is expected to do the same. Congress is angry because the president vetoed an identical bill after it went home last year. Predictions are Mr. Reagan will do the same if the bill winds up back on his desk. With Congress in Democratic hands, an override of the president's expected veto is almost certain, and that could prove to be an embarrassment for Mr. Reagan when he comes before Congress to deliver his State of the Union message 2 weeks from today. Ike Pappas, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
In the Rich Get Richer department, there's a new private study out that could show one of the reasons why that's so. It says most states have tax systems that are unfair and allow the very rich to pay a significantly smaller share of their incomes than the poorest families do. There's another rally in oil prices this morning. Ken Prewitt joins us with the details. Good morning, Ken.
Morning, Forrest. Crude oil is back over $19 a barrel in overseas trading this morning. That's up 15 cents from yesterday's price in New York. It's at $19.04 a barrel. 4 major oil producers who are not members of OPEC have agreed to coordinate their production policies with the organization, apparently. They are Norway, Mexico, Egypt, and the Soviet Union. At $19, oil is about double the low price of last year. The New Year's rally on the stock market continues, although the momentum is slowing down. The Dow Jones Industrial Average moved up another 3.5 points. The new record high for the market is 2012. The market moved higher in spite of another big hit for Dow component IBM. It fell $4 a share on top of Monday's $2 decline as Wall Street becomes pessimistic about IBM's earnings prospects for this year. Weakness in IBM was partially offset by strength in another Dow stock. Owens Illinois went up more than $3 a share to 54.5 as Kohlberg Kravis Roberts, the investment firm, came back with a $60 a share tender offer the day after Owens Illinois turned down a $55 a share bid. Gold is strong again this morning, up $4.50 an ounce in London at $414.40. Silver is up 6 cents at $5.59. The American dollar is trading higher overseas this morning.
Forrest, thank you very much, Ken.
In the weather news this morning, a blast of Arctic air will blow across the northern plains. Temperatures are expected to drop as much as 50 degrees from yesterday. By nightfall, gusty winds will send the wind chill factor down as low as 35 degrees below zero. Elsewhere around the nation, lots of sunshine can be expected along the eastern seaboard and also for much of the southwest. But a rainy day is in store for much of the south, with some of that rain reaching into the Ohio Valley by afternoon. It is now 9 minutes after the hour.
This is the TV8 Morning News. Here's Allison Gilman.
Good morning. Under clear skies, it's 33 degrees at this hour in Des Moines. By a narrow margin, voters in Johnston yesterday gave their approval for the construction of a new elementary school. Johnston School Principal Ron Sperlin said 60% of the vote was needed to pass the controversial $1.9 million bond issue. Sperlin said that a similar proposal was voted down last May. He's elated with the bond's passage on its second try.
What made the difference? I don't know. We had a great deal more people vote this time. Not quite double, but approaching double what we had vote last spring. And certainly we had a lot more committee people working on our project this time. And we basically had more people in the community supporting the issue and helping us with the issue.
Sperlin says school officials want to open the new school by the fall of 1988. The judge who last week ruled that the 5 Cooper children living in a foster home in Kellogg should be returned to their mother released his reasons why yesterday. Jasper County Judge Thomas Mott ruled that Paula and Larry Mick overstepped their boundaries as foster parents by trying to alienate the children from their mother. Karen Cooper is a recovering mental patient. Judge Mott says the Micks began trying to gain custody of the children about 2 years ago when the children first moved in. Judge Mott says although the 2 oldest children didn't want to return to their mother, a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old shouldn't be the major decision makers in a family. Karen Cooper wants her children back as soon as she is released from a Cedar Rapids halfway house. Judge Mott's ruling was made public at the request of Karen Cooper's attorney. Well, if you're a wine drinker, today's your day to take advantage of a big sale. Iowa's 219 liquor stores will hold a clearance sale today of nearly 500 popular brands of wine. The wines will be priced just above the state's cost. The sale is an effort to get the wine off the store shelves before the state ends its retail liquor monopoly in March. Liquor won't be on sale today, though, since the state will remain the only wholesaler of spirits in Iowa after it closes its retail stores. I'll have the weather forecast right after this.
I always pictured myself as a doctor, but I never pictured myself sleeping on a waterbed. Then my husband took me to Big Sur waterbeds. Now I won't sleep on anything else.
Distinctive and dramatic is Big Sur's Horizon Oak Wall Group. A large beveled glass mirror and graceful twin pier cabinets frame the bookcase headboard. Yours now for $11.99.
It's just what the doctor ordered.
Big Sur Waterbeds, America's largest. 3715 Merle Hay Road at Douglas in Des Moines.
Cooler temperatures in store for Des Moines and central Iowa today. Today, partly cloudy skies and cooler temperatures with high in the middle 40s. Tonight, lows in the low to mid 20s with cloudy skies and a chance of flurries. And tomorrow, the high should be in the upper 20s with cloudy skies and a chance of flurries. Our current temperature in Des Moines at this hour is 33 degrees with winds out of the southwest at 8 miles an hour. I'll be back in about 10 minutes with more local news. I hope you'll stay tuned.
At the America's Cup, chalk up another win for America's Stars and Stripes and another loss for New Zealand in the Defender Finals. Another race closer to bringing the Cup back to the United States. Walter Cronkite is in Fremantle keeping score for us. Good morning, Walter.
Good morning, Forrest. Good evening out here.
I, for one, maybe it's because I bought the press that the Kiwi Magic was receiving, but I'm very surprised that Stars and Stripes has been performing so well. Are you?
Well, I think everybody is rather surprised that Stars and Stripes has done so well against New Zealand in these first 2 days of the best 4 out of 7 series out here. Some of Dennis Connor's old pals from the 12-meter circuit in America's Cup competition of the past, Gary Jobson, Tom Blackhaller, Melgus, and those boys have always said they thought Connor would do well once the chips were down. I suppose that's motivation factor they're thinking about. Maybe it's a little bit of chauvinistic sympathy for him, but they seem to be right. He certainly has put everything together these last couple of days.
Now, when you say motivation factor, you're referring to the fact that it was Connor who lost the Cup to Australia. These wins, do you think it is because Connor is coming in so geared up for this, or because Stars and Stripes might actually be a better vessel?
Well, I think a little of both. I think certainly Connors is geared up for this contest. He has been geared up all along. The early results in the first couple of round robins didn't really indicate very much. He's now got everything together, and he's out there to win. There hasn't been a more determined man in any sport that I've ever covered in my years than Dennis Connor right this year here in Australia. He's determined to get that cup back. Unfortunately, won't be going back to the New York Yacht Club. Unfortunately for the New York Yacht Club, be going back to San Diego, but he wants to get it back for America. He wants to prove that he can do it after the loss in 1983. And part of it is the boat. They have made some changes. They've got a lot of help from sales that the America 2 syndicate gave them, some help that they've gotten from Tom Blackhaller's San Francisco entry, from the Eagle, from Buddy Melgus. All of these things are helping, plus some changes they made in the boat, a larger rudder, which I think has probably given him a little bit more maneuverability, a little more confidence perhaps in meeting the New Zealand boat, Chris Dixon, in some of the tacking challenges, although so far he's been avoiding that in these last 2 races. He's had enough boat speed so he could avoid closing too closely with Dixon.
Walter, based on what you have seen in terms of strategy in these first 2 races, I'm going to ask you to go out on a limb. Tell me what you think it's going to transpire in the next races.
Well, that is way out on the limb. But I think what we've seen here in the weather conditions of the last 2 days, yesterday when it piped up into the 20s, well into the 20s, today when it was down more in the 16 to 20 range and down in the lower range most of the day, it was calmer water today than it had been yesterday as well. Those are conditions which should have favored New Zealand, and Connors beat New Zealand today by a bigger margin than he did yesterday in conditions which are supposed to favor Stars and Stripes. I would say that Chris Dixon and the New Zealand effort are in pretty serious trouble tonight.
Walter Cronkite on a hardship assignment that we all envy down in Australia. Thank you for joining us, Walter.
Coming up, consumer reporter Erin Moriarty looks at a device to keep brakes from locking on slick surfaces.
The song competition heats up this week on You Write the Songs. Then Vereen dances and presents the songs in competition sung by Kip Lennon, Monica Page, Ty Herndon and Terry Gregory. Special guest Neil Sedaka talks about his music.
I had to write a hit. I was desperate.
And the songwriters go for the gold on You Write the Song.
Used to be you could make a living with a little common sense and a lot of muscle. Not anymore. Today, we use our minds as much as we do our muscles. And that takes certain basic skills, like being able to read, write, do math. If you want to improve your basic skills, you can. Call your local community college or library today. But the hard part isn't getting there. It's getting up the courage to walk inside.
Hi, I'm Pete Taylor. Join TV8 and Q102 and get involved in February's Workout America to benefit the Muscular Dystrophy Association. If you participate in any form of exercise, you can help the MDA in its fight against disabling muscle diseases. All you have to do is obtain pledges for your workouts to qualify for valuable prizes from Fitness Sports or 2 round-trip tickets from American Airlines. Just ask one of these health and wellness centers for your pledge packet or call the MDA. Join KCCI and Q102 for Workout America.
Our top stories today, another arrest has been made in the New Year's Eve fire at the DuPont Plaza Hotel. Yesterday, authorities in Puerto Rico seized a maintenance man and charged him with 96 counts of murder. Last night, a busboy was arrested as an accomplice. FBI Director William Webster has been sounded out about taking over the CIA. He's among a half-dozen people contacted about replacing William Casey, who's recovering from brain surgery. The Senate takes up the $18 billion clean water bill today. The House passed it last week. President Reagan pocket vetoed the bill in the last session, saying it's a budget buster.
There is a new car safety device that prevents your brakes from locking in a skid that's coming on the market. Now, in a crunch, it leaves the driving to a computer. And our consumer reporter, Erin Moriarty, says some experts think it's the most important safety development in a decade. And I gather it's a remarkable device.
It really is, Forrest, but it's only on a few cars right now. The anti-lock braking system may be the auto industry's best-kept secret. Car makers are reluctant to say much about it or make too many promises because in this country that encourages lawsuits. But if you've got the anti-lock system on a wet or icy road, then you'll see its value. This is what normally happens to even the best of drivers when they brake suddenly on a slick surface. Now here's that same truck again, but the difference is that this time around it's equipped with an electronic anti-lock braking system.
Anti-lock braking is one of the biggest safety developments in the last decade. There's no question in my mind about it.
In normal driving, you'll never need anti-lock brakes, but in weather like this, on wet pavement, or on snow, if any or all of your wheels lock up, a computer takes over and pumps your brakes for you. To understand just what that means, you've got to get behind the wheel yourself. Driving on a slippery track at a federal government test facility shows what happens when you try to make a sudden stop. With ordinary brakes, your wheels can lock, steering becomes impossible, and you're probably going to smash into any obstacle in your path, just like we did. But when the anti-lock computer pumps your brakes, you suddenly have traction and steering power.
Now you can steer around it. You have an opportunity to go around that object. It's a dynamic gift that you get from the anti-lock. It's active safety. That's what I like about it.
Actually, anti-lock brakes aren't entirely new. In Europe, they've been installed in some cars and trucks for years. But not in this country. Why not? Well, anti-lock got something of a black eye in the 1970s when early models used on trucks proved unreliable. And today, the problem with cars is simply cost. A sophisticated anti-lock system can add up to $1,300 to the price of a new car.
You won't see it in your lower line cars for a while. I don't believe you will, unless they bring down the cost of the system.
Still, Ford is the first American car maker to include an anti-lock system on several of its 1987 models. In the 1980s, safety just may sell.
$7,000 for just a safety item would be too much, but $1,000 surely isn't.
It's ridiculous if you don't spend a little extra to make sure that you have the vehicle for a lot longer.
Right now, anti-lock is available only on the high-end luxury automobiles, including Mercedes, BMW, Audi, Chevy Corvette, and Ford's new Thunderbird Turbo Coupe. But the experts we spoke to say that it will be on most cars within 5 years.
It makes a big difference, but you do have to make adjustments in how you drive when you come into that situation.
You do, but it's certainly much easier than without the system where you had to think, okay, I've got to turn with the skid or away from the skid. Here, the only thing you have to worry about is keeping your foot on the brake because it's going to fight you a little bit. It's pumping the brake for you.
Okay, thanks very much, Erin. I have a little more consumer news here. Anybody who wants to can go to the Super Bowl, it seems, well, as long as you have a fat wallet. All 100,000 tickets have already been distributed. But the New York Times says you can still buy one on the 50-yard line by paying a California ticket broker about $1,500. One travel agent is charging $3,000, but he throws in a limousine to the game for free, and what a limousine it must be.
Well, you're getting a lot for your money anyway, something big.
Yeah, I guess so.
Erin comes back tomorrow on the Morning News. Can you really pick your baby's sex? Well, one company says you can by using a new kit that's on the market. Erin takes a look at that kit and the controversy about it. It's now 23 minutes after the hour.
Thursday.
When Krolof's Furniture decides to throw a sale, do we have a sale? It's Krolof's half-price furniture spectacular. The lowest prices of the year. Dinettes and bedroom furniture, sleeper sofas and family room furniture. Save 50% and more on hundreds of beautiful home furnishings. It's all here at Krolof's Furniture. Buy now, no payments till April. Selection is fantastic, the price is even better. All right, everybody, quick, line up. We're ready for you.
There's a new look to late nights on TV8. Right after the news, drop in for 30 minutes of non-stop fun with The Jeffersons. Then at 11, it's the all-new Ask Dr. Ruth. Special guests join Dr. Ruth Westheimer before a live audience in a spontaneous discussion of modern relationships. And at 11:30, David Brenner is back on Nightlife. Don't miss David, along with musical director Billy Preston, for an unpredictable half hour with top show business stars. Be a part of it all. The new late night look on TV8.
Great party.
Hope there's room for these leftovers.
My jalapeno dip's probably gone.
Whirlpool refrigerators make your world a little easier with adjustable shelves, even on the doors.
There's even room for this full bowl of your jalapeno dip.
Sure you put it on the table?
Whirlpool.
Figured you'd bring a gun. Brought something better. FTD pick-me-up bouquet. Pretty. For you.
For me? Shucks. Nobody's given me flowers before.
Only from your FTD florist.
Wait till you see the changes we're making at Howard Johnson.
This is Howard Johnson? This is Howard Johnson?
Is that virkligen Howard Johnson?
This is Howard Johnson?
If you haven't stayed with us recently, you may be in for a surprise.
This is Howard Johnson.
We're changing our rooms, our furnishings, and there's a new attention to service.
This is Howard Johnson.
This is Howard Johnson.
This is Howard Johnson.
This is the TV8 Morning News. Here's Allison Gilman.
Good morning. Under clear skies, it's 33 degrees in Des Moines at this hour. The Des Moines Symphony Board of Directors was told by more than 200 symphony members last night to reconsider its vote to fire director Yuri Krasnopolsky. More than 350 symphony members packed Hoyt-Sherman Auditorium last night to voice their opinion in the controversy. TV8's Todd Magel was there.
Much of the Des Moines Symphony and its supporters were back in their old home tonight on the stage of Hoyt-Sherman Place. However, there was no music, there was plenty of noise.
I question the honor in firing someone of this caliber to just, be told.
Both inside Hoyt-Sherman and out, symphony members were vocal in their support for Krasnopolsky.
He has brought the orchestra from this place down to the Civic Center without public support. I'm afraid that it's a two-way street. The orchestra may wind up here again.
Nearly as many season ticket holders were supportive of the board's decision to fire the conductor because he divides too much time between Des Moines and New York and is hard to work with.
Never has the morale of the orchestra membership been so low, nor the apathy so pervasive. It should be obvious that the quality of this orchestra transcends the presence or absence of any one person.
Symphony members voted to reaffirm the huge contribution Yuri Krasnopolsky has made to the Des Moines Symphony. They also voted to require the board of directors to consider one more time the possibility of retaining Krasnopolsky. Symphony goers are also willing to compromise by having Krasnopolsky direct at least one half of the 87-88 season, the 50th for the Des Moines Symphony.
The Symphony Board of Directors will take a final vote on the matter next Tuesday. I'll be back with your weather forecast right after this.
Shop Menard's sale now for your top value in tools. Menard brand shop tools are on sale now. Industrial quality sanders, lathes, table saws, and more. This 5-inch bench grinder has fine and coarse grinding wheels with adjustable eye guards on sale now for just $17.99. And like all Menard brand tools, it's covered by our famous 2-year no-hassle warranty. Choose tools with confidence and save at Menard.
We're helping you build America's heartland at Menard.
Cooler temperatures on tap for Des Moines and central Iowa today. Partly cloudy skies today with cooler temperatures. Highs in the middle 40s. Both tonight and Thursday expect cloudy skies with a few flurries. Tonight's temperature will bottom out in the mid-20s. Our current temperature in Des Moines at this hour is 33 degrees. Winds out of the southwest at 8 miles an hour. Humidity 96%, barometric pressure about 30 inches and falling. And I'll be back in a half hour with more local news and weather. I hope you'll stay tuned.
Coming up next on the morning program, Jane Smith, the mother of Samantha Smith, a little girl whose dream of peace took her to Russia and brought her into the hearts of all of us.
Plus businessmen boxers, the dangers of passive smoking, and a teacher of sex education.
Henny Youngman, too, on the morning program.
Updating our top stories this morning, a busboy has become the second person arrested in connection with the New Year's Eve arson fire that killed 96 people at a San Juan hotel. Yesterday, a janitor at the DuPont Plaza Hotel was arrested and charged with starting the fire. The Senate Foreign Relations Committee opens hearings today on the Iran-Contra affair, and the Stars and Stripes has won the second of its best-of-7 races against the New Zealand in the America's Cup Challenger Finals.
In McCormick, South Carolina, it is getting awfully hard to keep track of who is behind bars and who's putting them there. And this is a little complicated. Sit down, have another cup of coffee. The new sheriff is a pardoned felon. He was convicted a few years back for grand larceny. Now, he just won an election over the acting sheriff who was arrested for trying to fix the race. Now, the acting sheriff, the one who tried to buy the election, had been filling in for the old sheriff who was doing time for embezzling treasury checks. There's going to be a quiz on this after the broadcast.
I think I would fail. Who's on first?
I don't know.
Who's on second?
We'll try to figure it out. That's the CBS Morning News for this Wednesday, January 14th. I'm Forrest Sawyer.
And I'm Faith Daniels. Have a great Wednesday.
This is CBS. Are you seeing heating and air conditioning dollars fly through the cracks in your old windows? Put a stop to runaway fuel costs now with beautiful, energy-efficient MaxiTherm vinyl line replacement windows. Custom-made MaxiTherm vinyl line windows are designed with you, the homeowner, in mind. Specially treated and certified for weather tightness and structural strength, Maxitherm Vinyl windows have the good housekeeping seal of approval. A lot of money flows out of your old windows. Keep it in with Maxitherm. Learn more about Maxitherm Vinyl windows. Call today.
In Ottumwa, tune to translator channel 74 for better reception of TV8.